You wake up and it's raining. Again. You check your phone, groan, pull the blanket back over your head, and go back to sleep. By day 3 of the same gray sky, you're not scared, you're just bored, annoyed, restless. You've got a roof, a fridge, 4 walls, and a phone full of shows, and somehow you're still miserable about the weather. Now take all of that away. No roof, no walls, no stored food, no dry clothes. Put yourself in a small group of people huddled at the mouth of a cave somewhere in Ice Age Europe, and the rain hasn't stopped in 7 days. The ground outside is mud, the firewood is soaked, the animals you'd normally hunt have vanished into shelter, same as you. And unlike you, there's no backup plan waiting behind a locked door. You can't leave, you can't call anyone, you can't order food. So what do you actually do for 7 straight days, trapped with nothing but a fire, a handful of tools, and a few other exhausted humans staring back at you? Here's the part nobody expects. Those 7 days weren't wasted time. In a lot of ways, they were the most productive days a prehistoric human ever had. Let's find out what actually happened inside that cave. So what's the first problem when it's been raining for a week straight? It's not food, it's not boredom, it's the fire going out. Wood that's been rained on for days won't catch, and a fire that dies in the middle of a wet, cold week isn't an inconvenience, it's a death sentence for the whole group. Archaeological sites across Europe show hearths that were maintained continuously for years, not relit from scratch each time, but fed, protected, and watched like a living thing. Someone's entire job during a rainy week was to sit by that fire and make sure it never went dark. Think of it less like lighting a candle and more like running a power plant that can never go offline. That fire wasn't comfort, it was infrastructure. So if you can't hunt and you can't forage far from camp, what do you do with 7 idle days? You make things. Cave sites are packed with evidence of manufacturing done specifically during long stretches of downtime. Piles of stone tool flaking debris concentrated right next to old fire pits, exactly where someone would sit for hours working by firelight. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists even found a 100,000-year-old pigment workshop, complete with shell mixing bowls and ground ochre. This wasn't panic mode survival, this was patient, unhurried production. A trapped week wasn't dead time, it was a workshop. So what do you do once every tool is already sharpened? You start solving problems nobody asked you to solve yet. At Hohle in Germany, archaeologists found a 35,000-year-old ivory tool carved specifically for twisting plant fibers into rope. Rope changed everything. It let people bind tools to handles, build stronger shelters, make snares. And making rope is slow, repetitive, and only really gets done when you have nowhere to be. Someone carved a rope-making machine while waiting out the rain. That's the definition of turning boredom into technology. So, is a cave in a rainstorm just a hole to hide in? Not by the time humans were done with it. At Sibutu Cave in South Africa, researchers found layers of carefully arranged sedge and grass bedding dating back 77,000 years, some of it layered with insect-repelling leaves and periodically burned and replaced to stay clean. This wasn't a shelter, it was a home, with pest control, 7,000 centuries before anyone invented the word hygiene. They weren't just surviving the rain, they were making it livable. So what happens when 15 or 20 people are stuck together with nothing to do but talk? Everything that mattered got passed on. Anthropologist Polly Weissner studied the Juahansi Bushmen and found that daytime conversation was mostly practical complaints and logistics, but at night, around the fire, over 80% of conversation shifted to stories, songs, and myth. A rained-out week wasn't a pause in the group's life, it was a classroom, and the fire was the only screen anyone needed. So what's the most surprising thing people did with a trapped week? They went deeper into the cave, past the point where anyone needed shelter, carrying a small, fat lamp into total darkness, and painted. The paintings at Chauvet Cave in France, some 36,000 years old, show horses and lions drawn mid-stride with an understanding of anatomy and movement that still stuns researchers today. Nobody paints a lion's muscles from memory when the hunting's good and the sun is out. You do it when the rain has been falling for a week and there's nothing left to sharpen. Boredom didn't stop them, it opened a door. So, after 7 days trapped in one spot, what did the group actually walk away with? New tools, new rope, clean bedding, stories the kids hadn't heard before, a wall with a lion on it that hadn't existed a week earlier. None of that happens on a clear day when everyone's out hunting and foraging. It only happens when a group is forced to sit still long enough to think. The rain didn't cost them a week, it gave them one. Zoom out far enough and a pattern appears across every one of these caves and campsites, from South Africa to southern France. The ember someone carried in a wrapped piece of fungus, the rope twisted on a carved ivory tool, the bedding swept clean and relaid, the lion painted by firelight 200 meters underground. None of it was made on the easy days. All of it was made on the days it wouldn't stop raining. They weren't just waiting out the storm, they were building everything that came after it. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more of the ancient history nobody else is telling you.